We are back. It's the Joe Holka Show presented by Line Movement. As always, we have to go through some wide receiver sleepers with my man, Matt Harmon. He's back with us, of course, the reception perception creator. You guys know him from Yahoo Sports. Matt, how was your week 10, my man?
Week 10 was good. I can't believe we're already in double digits. And, now the talk of fantasy Twitter, NFL Twitter is basically, what is Justin Herbert going to do with this new haircut? I mean, I don't know how much you've been paying attention this morning, but pretty wild stuff. But
I've been live all morning. What was it? I'm going to have to bring this up right now.
Oh, dude, he got a haircut. You haven't seen this? He cut off the flow, and you log on, like literally everybody's tweeting about it. So,
oh, no.
Yeah, I'm sure you've been busy, but doing some actually important stuff. But
ish.
It's been, as much as anything that we're doing here is important. Let's.
I'm going to bring this up for people, and it's not going to be perfect, but we have to put some context to what Matt's talking about. So he looks like a 12-year-old child, literally, in this.
I mean, he's always looked super young, but now it's like even more pronounced. With the hair. And I don't know about you, Joe, but I used to have like long hair like that when I was younger, and deciding to shave it off and buzz it just like that was a harrowing experience. And now that I'm closer to 30 and losing my hair than I am ever growing it out long, I just hope that Justin Herbert doesn't have to live with regret for the rest of his life.
Wow. The things you miss throughout the day when you're doing these long live streams. Interesting stuff. All right, let's give the people, we got to give them the answers to the test, Matt. Like, that's the only reason the people in the chat are here right now. So we got to talk through some cheaper wide receiver plays, also some guys that might be going a little bit overlooked in season-long DFS, whatever it is. So this first guy on your list this week, CeeDee Lamb. Interesting game overall. I think a lot of people are going to be on the Minnesota side of this. I feel like we haven't really had Dallas on a main slate in quite some time, but tell us why you think CeeDee Lamb could have a lot of success this week.
Yeah, look, I think this game's actually going to be a pretty underrated fantasy environment. It's already been bet up from 46.5 to 48.5. Like, I think this could be a game that goes over. Number one, because the Vikings offense is firing on all cylinders right now. They've got Justin Jefferson out there as like a total difference maker. He's essentially, from the moment he hit the field, he's like breathed new life into their offense. Thielen's still doing his thing. And obviously Cook is a guy that, is one of the best backs, if not the best back in fantasy football right now. So they're cooking on that side of the field. The Vikings defense is still, I think, one to target, even after, like everybody shuts down the Bears offense. I don't really care what the Bears did to them on Monday night, right? Like, even you could see plenty of opportunities there were left on the field because Nick Foles is a statue in the pocket and one of the most inaccurate throwers. And especially like to Anthony Miller, like there were so many passes that were over the middle to Miller that were off target, or especially the one that could have been a touchdown. Like Brian Greasy's saying, like, Miller, you got to catch that ball. That thing like hits his fingertips. And Miller is that slot receiver for the Bears, and I actually like Lamb still operating as the clear slot receiver for Dallas. A guy that is tied with Amari Cooper in terms of the team lead for targets since Dak Prescott has gone down, and the Vikings give up over 12 yards per catch and 7 touchdowns to receivers lined up on the inside. I think it's a pretty good spot to try to attack that defense where people, might still be fading this Dallas offense. I think Lamb is a good player to go back to this week.
I like it. These prices are really nice on these guys. Like, talking about, like, yes, the quarterback play is one thing, but this just screams like mini stack to me in DFS. Like, maybe you don't have to play the quarterbacks. You get some correlation on both sides. You go after someone like Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson, only Devontae Adams a better yards per route run over the last 4 weeks. So I love Jefferson on the other side of this, but CeeDee Lamb at 5K, like, say what you want. Minnesota, like, these guys can be had on the defensive side. So totally with you on that. By the way, Harmon, you've given my girlfriend 2 recommendations over the years for jerseys. Obviously, she's a big Vikings fan. Number one, she's one of the first people she knows with the Stephon Diggs jersey. So that was great. She's also now one of the first people she knows with the Justin Jefferson jersey. So you're maybe 2 for 2, but I like your odds, man. This is great.
Listen, man, Justin Jefferson's a stud. Like, I was just talking with Vikings beat writer Arif Hassan today about Jefferson. Like, I know this is not a guy that's obviously in our chief wide receiver segment, but it's funny coming into the league. I thought, people were throwing around comparisons for like Cooper Kupp, Tyler Boyd as like big slot receivers for Jefferson. I'm like, give me a break. Watch how this guy separates, get off the line of scrimmage. Like, he's a Keenan Allen type of player. I think that was his peak outcome. And he's like already playing as a top 15 wide receiver. Like, I never like trading away elite talents like Stephon Diggs, and and your girlfriend knows that I think Stephon Diggs is an elite talent. But like Jefferson, not that far off, and he's just getting started. So I think the odds are pretty good that was going to be a hit too.
Good for you, man. You're just making me look good with all that stuff. So I appreciate
That's what I'm here
for. This next guy is someone that, like I said, I've been live all day. I've talked about him on every single show so far. So Jacoby Myers, let me know why he's one of the better wide receiver sleepers / wide receiver value plays on the slate. I'm definitely with you on this one.
Listen, he's just getting slammed with targets right now, like from a relative standpoint within the Patriots offense. We know they're one of the most run-heavy groups, but I've also liked that, he's about a 15 route player per game on the outside and a 10 route per game player on the inside. Like, they haven't pigeonholed, which just, again, makes you wonder why he couldn't get on the field to begin with. But, since he's emerged, I think it was that week 6 game against the 49ers, like those last 4 games, he's been splitting time between the outside and the inside. He's not getting a ton of deep targets or anything like that. But I think if you're looking for kind of a safe floor play against this Houston Texans defense, I think we talked about Rashard Higgins and Jarvis Landry and those guys last week. Cleveland just can't get out of bad weather games. You have no idea, what that passing game is supposed to look like. But the logic still applies there for why we wanted to target this defense with guys like Landry and Higgins. I still think it's a defense that can be had. They don't put a ton of pressure on the quarterback. I think it's a good matchup overall, for this Patriots team. And, there's certainly a scenario, and I think Damian Harris is going to be in play for pretty much everybody too, because we know the Texans are they just give up 200-yard rushers to Cleveland. They're a bad run defense all year. I think you can target them that way. But there are other scenarios where the Patriots defense on the other side of the field has been pretty overrated all year. Deshaun Watson builds a lead. They're going to have to open up that passing game. And we know that if they're opening up that passing game, it's pretty much been Jacoby Myers and almost no one else for Cam Newton this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it again, but if you're not convinced that he's the guy now, I'm not sure what to tell you. He's like the clear centerpiece of this offense. Like the last 3 weeks, 7, 14, 10 targets, 0.54 weighted opportunity. Only Devontae Adams and the aforementioned Justin Jefferson with a higher yards per route run over the last 4 games. Tight ends aren't doing anything. James White's playing less, so that helps the wide receivers. Jacoby Myers is a fantastic play this week overall. So this next guy,
good, man. Why the hell didn't the Patriots get him on the field earlier? It's like one of the weirdest things. I guess they could have maybe talked themselves into like some redundancy between him and Edelman.
Yep.
But like honestly, obviously all respect to Julian Edelman in the world, of course, for a great career, but he was clearly not healthy to begin the year. A compromised form of Julian Edelman, like way inferior of a player than Jacoby Myers, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah, and I was curious about just that, so I looked into like their correlation, just 8 games, small sample, but Julian Edelman and Jacoby Myers still 0.44 correlation, which is extremely high. So that just tells me, just looking at the data, that they have a somewhat different role anyway. Would you agree with that? I guess like I'm not really sure. That's your thing. Are they similar players, similar types of routes, or like if Edelman comes back, does it really hurt with Jacoby Myers? Is what I'm asking, I guess.
I mean, maybe a little bit, but like you said, there's definitely some overlap there, but not enough to not have Myers still be that feature player, because Myers can play that flanker position, which I think at different points of his career, Edelman could do that too. Not this version of Julian Edelman. I think he has to be a slot receiver. They're definitely they wanted to have Damiere Byrd out there. I think that was the biggest thing. Like number one, they wanted to have N'Keal Harry out there because they kind of wanted to prove that draft pick correct. Clearly not going to happen. They also wanted to have Damiere Byrd out there because they wanted to take vertical shots off their play action game. And Damiere Byrd, we talked about him on the show before. He is a speed guy, familiar with Cam Newton from Carolina. But that didn't really work out either because they don't really have the infrastructure to be that sort of vertical pass game right now. But Myers, against the Jets especially, showed you that he could make some of those vertical catches, not on go routes, but on post routes, corner routes, things like that. So I think there's enough of a difference there that there shouldn't be too much overlap when Edelman gets back.
Love it. So the next guy that's under 5K that we want to talk about, Michael Pittman for Indy against Green Bay this week. His comparable player is Dwayne Bowe. So if that gives anyone, I guess, somewhat of an idea of what type of player he is. Do you completely disagree with that one? I want to hear your take on it. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, man. Dwayne Bowe, is a guy that could not really get open, even during the peak of his NFL career. Not really a man coverage separator guy, sort of in that Anquan Bolt, late career Anquan Bolden access, where like you could throw it up to him and he would make 50-50 catches for sure, but was not a separator. I think Pittman is a separator. To me, when he was coming out, I compared him sort of on that Kenny Galladay, Allen Robinson spectrum, where these guys started off their career as downfield threats that won on 50-50 balls. But obviously Robinson and even Galladay, over the course of his career has developed into more than just a vertical threat. I think Kenny Galladay is a guy that can separate all over the route tree. Not as good as Robinson. Obviously, we know Robinson's one of the best receivers in the NFL. He can win off the line of scrimmage, and that's the key to me. Pittman at USC was a guy that could win on those vertical stretch routes, no question, but I thought you saw enough route nuances that he would be a guy that would develop into a number one receiver in time. Frank Reich, when they drafted him, he was saying like he thought he could be clearly considered among the best like one of the best receivers in the class, if not the best receiver in the class. And I think there's a path for Pittman to be that. I mean, we have so many good rookie receivers to talk about, but Joe, like they used this guy as their number one receiver last week. He was first on the team in percentage of team air yards, first on the team in percentage of team targets, first in routes run, first in red zone target percentage, first in offensive snaps. And like the question coming out of week 9, when Pittman operated in like a number one receiver role for the Colts against the Ravens, it was like, well, what's going to happen when T.Y. Hilton comes back? T.Y. Hilton comes back last Thursday. Pittman still retains that role. And like, this is an offense right now. Phillip Rivers has been efficient overall outside of when he's making some of those back-breaking mistakes. It's like, you're never going to cut it out. Like there's not even really worth talking about, but if you could cut out those like 3 back-breaking mistakes out of Phillip Rivers' game, like he's been one of the most efficient, like EPA per dropback quarterbacks in the NFL this year. And what's just lacked is a guy with juice. And you could tell I'm excited about Michael Pittman because I think he brings that juice to this Colts offense that has so desperately needed it. Like the game environment a lot going against the Packers this week too.
All right, I'm officially scared, if I wasn't before, to bring up player profiler comps ever again, because I know you're watching more wide receivers than literally everyone. So Michael Pittman, not Dwayne Bowe. Great to know on that one. We basically ran out of time here, so I'm going to go over 2 other guys I would add to this list, KJ Hamler and Denzel Mims. KJ Hamler, over 90% of the route run per drop back over the last few weeks. He's running in the slot, which is better against Miami anyways. He's under 4K. Denzel Mims, 3,300. He was a second-round pick. I guess his comp, if you want to go, now I'm scared. His comp is Chris Godwin, 8 targets last week. 0.6 weighted opportunity is elite over the last 3 weeks. So if I just had to ask you to pick one of those cheaper guys, KJ Hamler or Denzel Mims this week, what's your take on that?
Yeah, give me Mims. Both these guys are good players. They operate in different roles. I like the fact that Hamler has become that speed slot receiver, moving Judy to the outside number one receiver role. I think that makes sense for Denver. But for Mims, you mentioned it, the opportunity has been there. The targets have been there. He got outproduced by Brashad Perryman. I think that could easily swing back Mims' way. So if you're looking to save, I'm in favor of Mims as a guy to do it with, because now the Jets actually have viable wide receivers with Crowder, Perryman. Perryman's questionable right now, but Mims especially I think is an ascending guy. I definitely don't mind that play at all.
Love it, man. Matt Harmon, everyone. Make sure everyone follows him on Twitter at @MattHarmon_BYB. Hey, man, it was a good time as always. We went a little bit off the rails, but these are the best ones. These like just more organic conversations anyway. So I hope everyone got their answers to the test. I know I learned a lot, in particular, never to say Dwayne Bowe's name ever again in your presence. But good stuff, man. Best of luck in week 11.
Appreciate it. You too, Joe. Yeah, we're going to go off the rails anytime we talk about like young wide receivers in the league right now, because there just happens to be a ton of good ones to talk about.
Love it, man. Andrea gives her best with that Jefferson jersey. She's pretty excited. Talk to you later.